What's going on there, workforce? Chris here with Work to Game, and I just want to ask the question, should Netflix and other streaming services be getting into gaming? Now, the first question you might have is, are Netflix, HBO, and these others getting into gaming? And the actual answer is no. But there was a rumor going around that Netflix was going to be going into gaming, starting with Minecraft. That was really just a misunderstanding that it's going into. It will be covering story mode. Now, this could be actually a sign that, you know, when we see Amazon Fire TV platform and things like that already have things that kind of allow you to steer the direction. You have these like branch type stories where you might get to a point, I don't know if you guys remember books like this, but you get to the bottom and it says, if you want this to happen, turn to page X. If you want this to happen, turn to page Y. And so these kind of create your own experiences are something that these services are very familiar with, and if they're not doing them on these platforms, they could be doing them in the very near future. That's not something that should surprise us. The question is, how does that tie into gaming? Right now, you have things like, okay, Amazon Prime, TV, movies, and all that, and then Twitch, owned by the same company. What would happen if those came together? What would happen if those were to blend? And who would lead the charge? Would Netflix do it first? The question really comes from, you know, this leaked article out of Tech Radar, which they later had to go back and correct, that basically says they're not bringing Minecraft to Netflix. So if you've seen that anywhere, it may have been based on this original article. That is not what's happening, at least right now. We can confirm Minecraft Story Mode is a licensed 5-episode interactive narrative is really what they got. So they kind of mistook that and said, yeah, totally, Minecraft. I saw the word Minecraft, that's what that means. But that's not the same thing. That's more of like Red versus Blue means Halo is coming to Netflix. If they were to pick up Red versus Blue, that's totally fine. But as we look at the success of these platforms like YouTube and Twitch that have a huge amount of their video content coming from gaming just as a genre, covering gameplay, covering news, covering tournaments. When you talk about MLG, it is an interesting idea to say, well, what if streaming services were to pick that up? What if streaming services were to cover the Major League Championships the same way we cover a boxing championship or a football championship, where there'd be documentaries possibly surrounding it, there would be coverage leading up to it, there could be behind-the-scenes interviews with the players, there could be, you know, different analytics, especially when you talk about the devs and things like that. That's like getting that kind of director's cut. It is something that Netflix could go down, and the question is that something that would we as gamers want that? Because on one hand, it's a lot more content dealing with games than what we have on our current platforms. YouTube only allows us to dive so deep, and Twitch really focuses on the live content. So would the backing of somebody like Netflix or Amazon Prime, who can put a lot more money into their originals than what YouTube can. Their YouTube Red series are great, but they just don't have the level of power that like a Netflix original can have. Is that something that would be really great for us? And if so, is it going to matter who does it first? Is it going to be the first one out of the gate? If HBO signs a deal with EA to cover all of their stuff, and then we start seeing all this EA content making its way onto, you know, a form of HBO, like a tab in your HBO app, is that a good thing? I would think it would be. I would think it'd be really good for gamers. I would think it would be fantastic for devs. It would really kind of mainstream the hobby. Sometimes when things happen, people don't understand certain cultures, and you know, when we talk about like violence and gun violence here in the United States, it's very quick to blame that on video games that have guns. Because it's something they don't understand. They're not going to blame it on hunting because they know how hunting works. They're not going to blame it on keeping guns in the home because that's been documented as, oh, we do that for self-defense for years. But gaming, this is this new thing, and all of a sudden all these kids are playing with guns virtually, and that has to be the reason. And so I would think that moving our content out into the world where they could watch a documentary on it and go, wow, I never thought of it like that. Wow, I never saw that, would be a good thing for us. Just as a community as a whole. But I kind of just wondered what you guys would think. Just thought I would kind of put this out there. I thought it was an interesting article. I'll link it in the description below, Tech Radar, and it has both their original story and it has since been updated to say, yes, it's just meant to be branch style content. Yes, it will be tied to the franchise, but it will not be tied to the gameplay itself. That they don't have any plans to get into gaming. There is a broad spectrum of gaming platform already out there, but as games become cinematic, We want the narrative side. And so as that line gets blurred, we're interested in starting to come that way. We just won't cross whatever this imaginary line is we've drawn for ourselves. And that's going to include hiring things like they have a job listing for a manager of interactive licensing who's supposed to go out there and say, are there marketing opportunities outside of our traditional content? Is there an ability to capture viewers, right, which is their job, by going and bringing in interactive content from things like video games. And so that can look like they're starting to blur that line. They, in their minds, still have a very clear line drawn, but is that going to be a line that we agree with where it's drawn? And honestly, do we care? I'm totally down for Netflix to start putting some gaming on their services. This has been Chris with Work to Game. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week, and I'll talk to you next time.